This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put
Why
forever.
you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the game.
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
WESN.
Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, of course, has the famous quote, "Ask not what your country could do for you, ask what you could do for your country." But to some extent, we do seem to forget that at the end of the day, your country still has to do certain things for you. That's the whole point of government. Barack Obama, on the flip side, said, if the people cannot trust their government to do the job for which it exists, its actual purpose, to protect them and to promote their common welfare, all else is lost. When this whole conflict in Gaza happened, a lot of people were concerned about the violence. And I found it interesting because violence affecting people, affecting humanity from other humans is nothing new. And I think we take it for granted what it means to be in conflict, in part because we haven't really had a major conflict that shaped the world in our backyard since 1945. There was Korea, there was Vietnam, there was Iraq I and Iraq II. But as time progresses, those wars became more and more distant, limited, controlled, contained, and the world kind of moved on. And to some extent, that's how wars were in the past. To some degree, wars happened all over the place. And everybody else not directly involved went on with their lives. But what I did say, though, what was the clue to me to take issue with how this thing was going down was the fact that there were hostages. And it wasn't the use of violence to get back the hostages. That's not what it seemed like. It seemed like the hostages were just allowed to remain hostages while we go forth and fight a war around them. Maybe the IDF was looking for them. Given the usual success their intelligence service has, I find it hard to believe that it took so long that they just never could find them. The way how their operations were arranged, it didn't seem to me as though they were looking to get them. It seemed more that they were just looking for a fight with no clear purpose. And now the citizens of Israel have to wonder, to what extent did our government did not do, in Obama's words, the job for which it exists. Literally, the whole justification of Israel's defense force is to protect Israel. And one would argue that even before the land, a nation is its people. And here we have a failure. And now the Prime Minister is indignant. He is refusing to bow to pressure. To some extent, he's refusing maybe to listen to the concerns of the average citizen. It's an interesting situation that they find themselves in. At the end of the day, at least to some degree, Mr. Netanyahu was a known quantity. They knew what they were voting in. It was expected for him to take a hard line. Maybe people did not expect him to make these specific tactical decisions. But now that the cat's out of the bag, while I could understand a little bit of buyer's remorse, to some degree, that's what Israel chose for itself. And there may have been good reasons to do so, and there may have been bad reasons before now to do so. So now what do? The only thing you can do is do the hard work to move forward. That might mean having to wait till the next election. That might mean trying to impeach him. I don't know. All I know is that there are 6 citizens of Israel who were not protected and who were killed. And that was my primary concern before anything. Just the principle of the matter, not the number. At some point, if you want to just talk about the number of deaths and they have more deaths than the other side, that's not the point. The point is all life. Violence was happening for no real purpose I could discern, while these people were also at risk unnecessarily. So double no purpose that I could discern. Meanwhile, we're here in TNT, and you're saying, oh, we're not under the same situation. Yes and no. The irony is, one could argue there are more hostages here than over there. Rhetorically speaking, maybe we are all hostages. Watching the government who's supposed to do the job for which it exists, protect, promote our common welfare, stumbling with one and failing on the other, on the former. Because not only do we have to now look at the fact that the whole crime situation is potentially out of control, and I will always say the government is a two-way street. There are 2 sides to Parliament. There's a majority and a minority. Let's not forget that. And I'm not content with the performance of either of them. I mean, right now, give me the THA. At least they're thinking. They might not actually get anywhere, but at the end of the day, they're a local government body for all intents and purposes, not a national body. Reagan has an interesting quote, something that I think we don't even think about. We should measure welfare success by how many people leave welfare, not by how many are added. And I do wonder to what extent, statistically, do we even bother to collect the information with regards to how many people need government assistance in whatever ways, whether it's food hampers, grants, low-income housing, rentals, etc., some of whom do not pay their ridiculously low rent. How many are content to stay in that situation because they're comfortable? And how many are added each year? We don't know. We do know that they want more low-income housing, they want more grants, they want more food hampers. Meanwhile, the NGOs, like the ones in Port of Spain, who we spoke to a few years ago, they have measures and procedures in place to prevent people from exploiting the system, but somehow the government does not. And that's not unique to this administration. I challenge that we are being held hostage Not necessarily intentionally, it could be unintentionally, but the results are still the same. We are in a situation where a parent had to bury his adult child, which in some ways, I guess, at the very least, it wasn't a teenager or a primary school age child. But he still had to lament the fact that no parent should have to bury their child. And he doesn't even know why his son died, taken in the morning. When we have situations like that where we don't even know what the motivation of these murders are, essentially we are all hostages. And now we do have to wonder if, think about it, at the end of the day, Prime Minister Netanyahu is pushing back against, that's the headline in today's paper, against new pressure. No one will preach to me. That sounds familiar. Very few of our politicians will take negative feedback. Most people will say, yes, that sounds like Prime Minister. It's not limited to just him. Let's be fair. It's not like he's the only one. In some ways, he's not always even the worst offender. He's just the most prominent one. But he is the Prime Minister, so we should hold him to a higher standard. The question is now, why? And I will just leave you with this line before we go into the daily review and then welcome our guests in a little while. Man becomes great exactly in the degree in which he works for the welfare of his fellow men, Mahatma Gandhi. Now the question is, to what degree is that happening? Do we have a statistic to measure that? Probably not. Now, Sean Michael Small here. This is Talking About in WESN, the content capital. Let's kick off today's daily review. So, try to get through a few things, not have our guests waiting too long. Special guest this morning, very happy he's here. Political Stories, NTA, one of the third parties. It seems as though the situation between the NTA and the UNC has become more and more cemented in the antagonism. Any hope for an alliance, I guess, more or less is sunk. And now the NTA is looking to contest 10 seats that the UNC is looking to as key battleground seats. It's interesting. Now, these are marginal seats, so to some extent, I guess the assumption would be the NTA will split votes with the UNC. I'm not entirely sure that's the case. Because they're marginal seats, I think a split vote, maybe, one could argue there might be more risk with regards to safe seats. It could upset pre-existing calculations or predictions. It can happen in marginal seats too, don't get me wrong, but the incumbent is the PNM. So to some extent, it could also be taking votes from the PNM, people who don't necessarily want to vote for the UNC, but don't want the incumbent government either. We'll only really know if this will help the current administration or hurt it once we see the results. Chances are, given our voting patterns, the NTA is not going to get enough votes to win any of these seats. No party has gone on an election and won a seat its first go, except Jack Warner's one-man show, but that was a special circumstance, at least in recent memory that I know of. I will say this. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Griffith, I assume, took some delight taking a minor dig as he points out to the fact that a political party, the UNC, is apparently looking to campaign with primarily blue T-shirts and I don't know if signage as well, polos and what have you. Interesting choice there. Wonder if somebody had a plan and then they had to abort the plan, but the order was already in. I don't know. Blue is not traditionally UNC color, but one of the morning papers has their new look in all its glory. It was interesting to see. With that said, I will encourage people to not necessarily underestimate Guy Griffith. Do I think he's going to solve all our problems? No. In fact, I'm not even necessarily sure he can solve all of our national security problems, despite his experience and specialty. But what I do know is this. He is not the PNM, he's not the UNC. And while I have derided this sort of concept in the past, I do find myself now wondering if there's more legitimacy here, and maybe that's me being hypocritical. But essentially, he is a third option. And when Kamala became Prime Minister, I was more than happy to give her a chance. When Dr. Keith Rowley became Prime Minister, I was more than happy to give him a chance. I didn't pass judgment on them because they were new to this job. Hopefully, they will rise to the occasion. Past behavior, and I go against Karen saying here, I didn't necessarily use it to assume future behavior. Maybe I should have. And maybe I should in this case. But right now, at the end of the day, we have seen glimmers of greatness out of all of them. Kamala, Rowley, Griffith. We have seen less than impressive moments as well. While he was commissioner, dare I say, outside of situations where defending his son in the media, he handled himself reasonably well. Again, I don't think Gary Griffith is going to solve all our problems, but he's a third option. And the reason why this time I think this circumstance is a little bit different than before, I really, really don't like the status quo. And even if the NTA doesn't win anything, votes to the NTA, at the very least, will tell the PNM and the UNC, hold up. We're tired of this unofficial cartel in control of our politics. We will look for an alternative. You have to actually compete now with good ideas and not just play ping pong with bad PR stunts and poor policy decisions. Because that's what it feels like. They're comfortable in their race to the bottom because no one could challenge their position. At the very least, one of them will be the government, the other one will be in the opposition. They'll all collect their checks. They'll all get their pensions. But now Gary comes and he upsets that apple cart, right? He's not part of the plan. He's not part of the unofficial potential arrangement that may exist. He's not part of what allows them to be comfortable, because if the NTA or any other third force is successful, one of them will be on the way out. And then they won't get salaries. And then they won't be able to have the trappings of power. Even the office of the opposition leader is a significant position. And to some extent, do you really want to be in government, given the challenges moving forward? Keaton says he's not sure if either party does. But then if they don't want to be in power, at least they want to be in opposition. Who wants to allow a third party, an interloper, come in and disrupt our peace? So consider that. And remember, technically, you're not supposed to be voting for Gary Griffith unless you're in St. Joseph, the constituency that he is directly running for. You're voting for the candidate that the NTA puts up. And maybe you should use that. Hopefully, they will campaign with policies and not just on the back of, well, where's the other guy? Where's the alternative? we're the third option, pick us. Hopefully they'll have more than that. But more importantly, hope maybe people should start responding to the candidates for each of their constituencies, because at the end of the day, one of the best ways to tell MPs that you're no longer accepting their absenteeism is to take the candidacy more seriously and not just blindly vote for party. But we'll see how that goes. Next story that I want to get into just before we take the break. So, of course, now we're getting a bit more news about issues with schools not necessarily being up to scratch. And these are the ones we do know. The reason why I say that is, Mount Hope Secondary, their PTA has come out and questioned the fact that St. George's College, which is nearby, they have a phased reopening because they have issues with their roof being partially collapsed. Whereas the PTA of Mount Hope Secondary School is saying, what about us? Because they're getting measures done to deal with that problem. Meanwhile, we're fully open with our roof being completely collapsed. Now, that might be hyperbole, but there's concern about wood lice and the roof and the structure and the safety of the school. And the coordinator pointed out, you know, if they were left to suffer in silence because they're a second-class institution. So it makes me wonder to what extent is there issues moving forward. According to the Ministry of Education, all schools have reopened except for Mount Hope Secondary, because it's true, except for St. George's College, because it's true, Mount Hope Secondary is reopened despite the fact that the parents are saying, why are we exactly reopened when our issues might be worse than the other guys? The Ministry of Education is essentially, and you know, a lot of it could be semantics. You know, they're open, but we don't know what all of the various institutions that have a but after the fact that they're open. We don't know what the details after that but is. You know, this school is open, but that school is open, but we don't necessarily know. So they might all be technically open. And we have to ask. We have to ask because, well, one school is basically saying, we didn't get press. Now they're in the press. Are there any other schools? Are there other situations? And tutor has other concerns. And I myself have this concern. Usually you hear about big corporations that are too big to fail. This American car company, this American financial institution, too big to fail, so the government bails them out. Now, our education system is mainly, particularly the part that's mostly in trouble, financed by the government or assisted by the government. Technically, it can't fail, regardless how big or small it is. But is it so big that it can't succeed because we literally cannot finance all the things that need to be done? It's one thing to build new schools. The problem is we still have to maintain the old ones if we wanted to grow our capacity, which that seemed to be the agenda, at least for some point in time. And have we literally grown our education to the point where we can't afford it? And now the question is what we're going to do about it, because obviously just closing down schools and kicking kids to the curb is not the solution. We're supposed to be educating all of our children. But how we do so, I think we shouldn't be taking just a straightforward view of, well, just build more schools. When we have an issue, keeping the ones that we have already open, still open. And if we keep just blindly going down this path of, let's just do the most obvious basic thing, at one point, will it grow to the point where it will fail? Not a matter of if. No more capacity to cover it up, no matter how much extra money we spend on it with emergency funds that may or may not actually have been planned in the budget. Therefore, where is this extra money coming from? We don't exactly know. Or maybe that's why certain institutions like local government bodies don't get all of their allocation, in some years as little as 50% for the year, and they were already underfunded. And the thing is, here's the real extra spice to this situation. No one's campaigning on this. I have no idea. I don't even know if any politician sees this as a problem. Yes, some of them do. They've talking about it, but I think Anita Hayes may have been one of them. But like a campaignable issue. Where are the ideas to move forward? Where is the analysis into what the problems could be, the shortfalls could be? No. All we get is look at the ships, look at the ships. Now follow me, children, as the Pied Piper plays his merry tune. Let's take a break. When we come back, we welcome my guest. Stay tuned. This is Talking Point on WESN, the Continent Capital Show. Michael Small with you as always, and we'll be back after this. Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really want
to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'd ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say, we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the home store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas, and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue, St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop, Ariapita Avenue, Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we kind of have to stalemate.
You'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
My next guest may be my most special guest that I've ever had. Because while I say that Karen was there almost at the very beginning of Talking Point, and Keaton was there as my first co-host of Talking Point, Keaton technically was not my first co-host. And WESN is technically not the station that gave me my first taste, well, I should say my first terror of being in front of a camera. That is the gracious man next to me, who is known to many as the guru, former senator, among other things, just a humble man from Sawa.
Yeah, from Sawa.
Mr. Harvey Boris. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, my brother. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be here. I feel really, really excited to be here in your program this morning. I thank you ever so much, and I trust by the grace of God we'll have a good discussion.
I mean, you're excited. Folks, I'm excited. I have been wanting to do this. I just didn't know how to figure out how to do it. Mm-hmm. So I am not shamed to admit, I saw Mr. Boris on 10 Questions with Andy Johnson Fridays every morning at 10 a.m. And I was like, all right, now is the time. I have to ask now. If not now, well, then it'll never happen. And I've always wanted you to come on here, because one of the things, I did your show a couple of times with you. One of the things that always stuck to me was just the simple saying that you have to close out your show, I love my country, right? And I mean, I've been tempted, folks, to steal that line multiple times because I love that line. But I was like, no, that's Harvey's line. I can't steal that line. But the simple concept of it, I do feel as though we understand it. We would say that everybody would say they love their country, but I don't know if we really know what it means, that we practice it, you know? In the little things, we might say it, but do we really feel it?
And that's the point. And that's why I came up with the idea 34 years ago. So it's over 30 years I'm talking this, I love my country, trying to promote love of country. And it is really to inspire people to really be patriotic, to put country first, to put country over party, as the case may be, but to put country in such a way that you will do what is in the best interest of the next generation, the long-term situation. And that's why I started that. I love my country. I would try to encourage people to truly embrace it. And I attempted to show it by doing different community projects, getting out there and inspiring people and saying to you, listen, it's about love of country. And whether you are of this party or that party, whether you're of this religion or that religion, whether you're of this race or that race, that's not the biggest picture. The bigger picture is we are all Trinbagonians. And therefore, if this is our land, our motherland, the place that gives us whatever we have, we then have to be patriotic and understand that we must do the best we can to ensure the future generation, and then thereafter will have a place to call home.
Because I think on the surface, people might say, well, what you're saying you're speaking to the politicians. The politicians need to put country before party. But it's not just the politicians. It's the voters, it's the members, it's the non-members.
It's everyone. It's everyone. It's every single citizen of this country. We must really develop that love of country. It is not because I mustn't hate you and despise you because you have another race. I mustn't hate you and despise you because you support a different political party. I mustn't hate you and despise you because of your economic standard. The point is, whoever you are, whatever you are, we are all Trinbagonians, and that should give us that unity. In terms of understanding, we are all Trinbagonians. And once you understand that, you begin to appreciate a person as they are.
I, of course, don't necessarily, I wasn't alive for the entire history of the country, the entire history of independence. But I do wonder, it always seemed to me that in some ways, not in every way, right? Because the older generations may have been a bit more insensitive about certain things. That's just the way how it was then. You know, that to some extent, you kind of have to understand that, right? We evolve, what have you. But I do feel as though to some extent, there may have been a greater sense of national identity and pride for the nation before. And now it's almost as though we've allowed it to be watered down into, well, Carnival has become this commercial entity centered around fetting. The traditions of Carnival, that's kind of by the wayside. Yeah. And then, you know, to what extent now do we really promote other aspects of our culture to say, well, this is who we are? I would argue that we've kind of allowed what happened to Carnival happen to a lot of our culture, and it's just there. And then now we have to wonder, outside of the random time we make it to the World Cup, or the random gold medalists who they put in their individual work and they get it done. But as a country, like, we don't seem to be putting in the work to make these achievements, because I would argue we could achieve so much more.
We are so gifted. We are so blessed. You know the old saying, God is a Trini.
Yes.
And how he protects us from all of these natural disasters and what have you. And that is a point to which people need to understand. Whereas our people are so talented, so gifted. We are a gift to this world. Listen, let me give you some quotient facts here. For our land size, my research have shown me, for our land size, the amount of natural resources we have on this land, there's no place on the earth where this, I'm talking about in terms of land size, with the amount of natural resources. We have the second largest pitch lake in the world. We have so much to offer, and we have so much that we can do. It's up to us to really harness and bring it together to ensure that at the end of the day, it is in the best interest of the future. It's in the best interest. We should have, we should have all our roads should be of a certain standard. I mean, there's the basic things that we need to put together ought to be there. I understand the difficulties, I understand the circumstances, I understand the politics and the backward and forward. But at the end of the day, if we think with almost unity in purpose, we can make the change.
I am always, just to segue a little bit, as you say, with regards to our road quality, or the quality of our roads, I have always been under the impression that it seemed to me a significant amount of our road network was there when I was born. And it hasn't really grown. And I'm 40, so that's like 40 years. You know, we've maybe added an overpass here, we've added a one-lane thing to San Fernando, right? And I lament the fact that such a basic thing of, what about roads to the east? What about roads to the south? What about just naturally encouraging development, because you put basic infrastructure, and then when you have these basic infrastructure, it's easier to maintain things when there are good roads to get there, when it's not hard for the WASA truck or the TNTech truck to literally drive to the spot. And simple things like that, where, I mean, we see it all the time for the last, decade or two. Communities feel neglected because they're at the periphery of the country. We barely, you're talking about land mass. The irony is, I mentioned not too long ago, we're not even using all of the land mass, right? We living on a corner. We living on a side.
Yeah, so if you look at it, we have the resources, we have the talent. Now, the present minister works, in my view, is the only person I've seen attempted to expand the road network. But, you know, you look at the Curab situation, going down the south, completing that situation. So you have seen some expansion. But in terms of the present infrastructure, we can devise a program that really, you know, makes it ongoing and given small people, not a big contractor, small people responsibility for Woodbrook, for Mova, for Salmon, for Siparia, for Point Fortin, small people, and give them the assignment that these roads must be kept at a certain standard. We ain't talking about repaving the roads all the time, but we're talking about at least people wouldn't fall in certain things, and there are some things you can do. For instance, we have so much road fatality right now, and people not using, people will protest. We need a walkover here. Build the walkover, nobody using it, as the case may be. Build the walkover, nobody using it. And there should be a program of encouraging people. And I'm saying, first I came up with a suggestion for a program which will really motivate people to why you should use the walkover. But who will listen at the point in time? Yet people might say, I'm connected to the politics, to what have you. But sometimes you find that you're connected, but who is listening?
Yeah.
That's the question.
It is an interesting thing where, yes, people still, that see lots walk over, and then you still have people that don't want to use it.
Nobody.
I don't understand that, because I'll take my time to go around if I could, right? But I do wonder if it goes to a degree of complacency in the population, because when you look at it, we've had international success. We've had Miss Universes, we've had Miss Worlds, we've had Olympic gold, right? They have cities with greater populations than us that don't have a medal, right?
By far.
So we've had international sports success, World Cup, Dwight York, Manchester United. So our athletes have gone there, been there, done that. In the oil and gas sector, apparently people with experience will say, well, it's hard to find an oil platform without somebody from Trinidad connected to it. Then, of course, we have the natural resources, as you alluded to. I mean, at the very least, we were rich at one point in time. I'm not so sure anymore, but we'll see. Maybe we get lucky with some exploration and we could get a do-over on that. And then also, as you said, God is a Trini. We are protected. We haven't had, I mean, only look at Haiti, and you compare to what they've had to go through to what we've had to go through. Oh my gosh. No. We are the sheltered, spoiled child of the Caribbean.
I'm telling you.
Right? And all of that makes me wonder, just like sheltered, spoiled children that have not had to worry about what we're going to eat, that have not had to worry about shelter over their head, all of which Haitians have to worry about, right? About this hurricane and that hurricane. How many of our neighbors, our closest Lesser Antilles neighbors, were in more dire straits in the last hurricane with Beryl than we were, right? I wonder if we're just too complacent. To the point where it's almost like if we are hell-bent on going down on this path until something happens to force us to shake us up, some tragedy that would be very preventable, but we're going to have to swallow that hard lesson before we decide, hey, we need to be a bit more serious.
And why can't we be smart enough? There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Why do you want to reinvent the wheel and go through all the hassles and the pain? You can see through this morning, for instance, in the Philippines, massive flooding, people lost their life. In India, massive flooding, people lost their life. In Sudan, same thing again. This morning on the news, we wake up this morning with nice weather conditions. Some traffic on the road has cruised back out, as the case may be. That's what we're talking about. And so we are so blessed, my brother.
I mean, we flood, but we don't lose lives.
That's what I'm saying. You know, we are so blessed that we don't understand. For instance, I'll give you a clear example. When Kamala Persad-Bissessar was in power, I would tell my colleagues, listen, that project that they're doing, I want it to be successful. Some of my colleagues didn't understand that, as the case may be. But I saw it as the best interest of the country, not best interest of the UNC, best interest of TNT. And therefore, the PNM is in power now. There are people who don't want to see nothing succeed. Because why? It make the PNM look bad. That is where we are in terms of having no patriotism for this country, not understanding what is in the best interest of our future.
So I wonder if the voters are complacent. I think the politicians might be aware of that. I always say politicians respond to what the voters unofficially or indirectly communicate to them. We approve of this, so keep doing what you're doing. The lack of cooperation. I understand if you take a simplistic view. That's what it looks like. Well, if they succeed, they will say we are so successful. But if an opposition, whether it was Keith Rowley in opposition, Kamala in opposition now, was to support an initiative, if you were good with regards to your public communications, wouldn't the obvious thing be, well, we supported this as the opposition. We took a stand for the country. Like, why is it that the government just all of a sudden claims all credit? Why can't you claim credit? Like the lack of just how to craft a message.
And that's why I think we fail as a people, as a government, because we don't understand the bigger picture. We look at things only from a micro point of view, not from the macro point of view, understanding what is in the best interest. And therefore, if the government has come with a program, and I, as the opposition, see this program to be good for the country, I mustn't just go and vote for it in the parliament and as a papi show and say, should we vote for it? Look at the... No. I must really support that program. That program is good. I must go and tell my people, listen, see this program by the government is a good program. And if we were there, we'd have done the same program as the case may be. You could tweak it. But you're sure that you're not just giving it lip service, but you're actually seeing the value of the program.
Well, so I may be putting a little bit on the spot here, but as you say, lip service, one of the things that I've always been upset over is the lack of crime talks. Because I've seen both sides they talk. I didn't see either side look to compromise, to try to say, listen, I'm willing to compromise this to get you at the table to talk to me. I didn't really see that from either side. I just said both sides kind of put forward their thing, and there were disagreements, and nobody tried to work out the disagreements. Meanwhile, in Tobago, Kelvin Morris called the chief sec and say, hey, this thing bigger than us. Let's do something together. And they had a press conference together. There was no, well, the minority leader complaining about what the chief secretary not doing, and the chief secretary complaining about what the minority leader not doing. They came together, and I do wonder if Tobagonians, they're not complacent. They figured that out. They're like, no. We need demand for better. But with regards locally, with the lack of crime talks, I find as much as there were bills that were passed after, I think like the anti-gang bill amendments or what have you were passed with opposition support. But the lack of crime talks, to me, I do wonder, it's hard for me to take either side seriously now when it seems as though they didn't really want this to happen. The president called for it, and that's the only reason why they had to give it lip service.
You see, the problem here is this. We must have responsibility. We must have consequences for your actions. And if consequences are lacking, therefore people do not go to give things the best initiative or the best efforts. For instance, local government. Why are the regional corporations, like for instance Diego Martin, Simon Laventil, Tunapuna, holding a regional conference on crime? Because they all have a small police service that is attached to them. In terms of your own region, why don't you call in a regional conference, not just a talk show, but putting ideas together? How can we help in terms of the central police in reducing crime in our various municipalities, our various regions, as the case may be? How can we do that? Why isn't that happening? Why then isn't the police literally, why haven't we reached a point where full camera capturing of a person's face that's all it takes, if you have it on video, that you don't have witnesses or come, because witnesses' lives is a threat. Why don't you have that fully, that once you get captured on the video, that is it in court. You don't need nobody to come and testify. So to ensure you cause that situation, why is it when persons identify that the police can't just put up their face, this person has been seen, they say it might detain the witnesses from, in terms of the cinema and television. Why can't we put the laws in such a simplified manner that once a person's on video, it is a simple thing to thing. Why is it that people going in the court, being charged in the court, back outside, committing the crime 10, 15 times afterwards, doing the same thing? Why is it? I'm only asking my question, why, I almost said why the hell it is, but I shouldn't say on national television, but why is it? I almost feel like a hot seat moment there. Yes.
I mean, yeah, folks, just so you understand, one, Mr. Boris is saying, why don't regional institutions and stakeholders come together? Tunapuna, their businessmen, they were part of a camera program, right? Which there was hopes for it to be rolled out further nationally, but I don't know if the business community support, to what extent that's needed for other areas to have it roll out. And then with regards to repeat offenders, just based on the amount of crimes that the courts have to see, right? Statistically speaking, there has to be repeat offenders. And we're not talking like 1 or 2 repeat offenders. We're talking multiple upon multiples of crimes.
The police association said we're talking about thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
And it's just like a revolving door.
I think it's
in the court, back court.
There might be thousands of people in the prisons. There might be thousands of people for the court. But the number of cases per year might be in hundreds, tens to hundreds of thousands. So just statistically speaking, a lot of them are bound to be repeat offenders. I get it. You have to figure out who are not. And
why don't we have night court? Why don't we have? There's this backlog that people are in Raymond Yard 10, 15 years waiting for trial. Why don't we have night court? Why don't we bring in more? We have so much good legal minds in this country. That's I'm one of those persons who don't favor the Privy Council. That's the next story in terms of staying on. Because if you have true independence or you're a true republic nation, you cannot, for instance, you can't play mass and freight powder. You must, you might have that situation where I know you and you know me. That it happens in all society. Yeah. But I believe the Caribbean court can do that. I am personally, I love my country and I love the people of our country. And I don't love nobody based on race. I love people based on the human face. And therefore on that basis, we must do what we can do for the future of this country.
One of the things, as we're coming to a close, that I always find interesting is how people will take criticism and just want to label you and generalize you as a this party hater. The irony is, at least in my case, I don't know if this happened to you, I could complain about a PNM thing one day and a UNC thing the next day, but the people only listen to that day and assume, well, because this day I was bad talking Kamala, I'm an anti-UNC, I'm a PNMite. Don't mind that. Maybe for the rest of the week, I might have been complaining. Well, national security did this, and energy did that, and the Prime Minister did this, and education did this. And I may be having like a whole shows of policy issues, right? A lot of what you're saying here, people, the traditional mindset of party politics is, you can't see that. You're undermining the party. But I would argue, no, it's the reverse. If you demand better from the party, then the party becomes stronger.
Absolutely.
And a stronger party. Look at Mia Motley. They're basically uncontested. She tried to give the opposition a seat once, right? I would say the same thing for the UNC. We want the UNC to be strong so that the PNM doesn't become complacent. But we also want the PNM to be strong in part one because we don't want any weak political parties. But two, they're also the government now. This is the thing, and I think this is what you're alluding to. If the government fails now, it's not the PNM that fails. It's the country that fails because nothing is moving forward. And the only things that we do get are these kind of halfway compromise because it's a simple majority, so they really don't have any teeth to them pieces of legislation. And that's what we got for the last 10 years, basically. And I think that whole concept, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, people need to understand, you're not saying these people are rubbish, let's get rid of them. You're saying, no, we need to be doing better. And if you can't do better, whichever individual can't do better, well, then maybe they should fall by the wayside for someone who can, but it's about being better overall.
Let me make this point very, very clear. A lot of us as grassroots, because I see myself as one of the leaders of the grassroots in our country, a lot of us as grassroots don't understand the bigger picture, and we limit ourselves. And therefore, I am a grassroots in the PNM, and you are grassroots in the UNC, or vice versa. And we hate one another. As I'm saying, I'm talking about race here. Just talking about you are UNC and PNM. I hate you.
Yeah.
I have been able to sit at all levels. From a diplomat, I was a diplomat, as you know. I was in the Senate, local government. So I've been able to sit. And I've seen those who are earning the big money and in the big business, they have no care about who is UNC. They might talk it in the politics. But when you watch in the back door, in the coffee room, they're certainly doing business with each other. There's one family in particular, 3 brothers of somewhat Chinese descent. One brother is UNC, one brother was COP, and one brother was PNM. And they were doing business, they have their family business doing business, as the case may be. Understand the bigger picture. Their business was the bigger picture from that point of view. We who are grassroots are becoming soldiers of the crumbs and protectors of the kakada. Because all we're looking at is to find a little crumbs here and to protect it, and we don't care who, we will lick up one another, and we turn now internally, we will now lick up one another. Once we get a little crumbs fall, listen, we're not even looking for whole wheat crumbs, or banana bread crumbs, or whatever. We're looking for only hops bread crumbs. We're looking for the cheapest crumbs or the smallest crumbs that can fall off the table where we get it, and we guard that crumbs, and we'll kill anybody who come close to my crumbs. We have to be looking and understanding that even though you're from a humble beginning, your son, your daughter can be the transformation. Recently I had a friend who came from Canada. He's a geophysicist, geologist, and also an investment banker. He came from the poorest of families, and he was able to transform his whole family and transform his entire family. I'm talking about a young man called Keith Spence, who came from Sunshine Avenue, San Juan, and was able to transform his whole family. I'm saying you got to believe in yourself. You got to, suppose your neighbors right now is Kerry, and you have a little son or daughter. Believe in them, or your grandchild. Believe in them. At the end of the day, that child, that grandchild can be the transformation, or you yourself can continue to what you're doing and achieve the goals. So at the end of the day, whatever you do, however you do it, you can achieve the goals. And I'm saying that, and I will talk to grassroots, and I'm talking to every grassroots. You can make it. Believe in yourself. Understand, if you love your country, you love your family, you want to do what is right, continue to be progressive. Don't see us as no poor me one. Don't see us as no loser. See yourself that you are the ladder to climb, and therefore those of us who have climbed the ladder to some extent must always remember to put on a ladder or to put on something to help someone to get up the ladder. Too often we want to close it off because we are selfish and we feel that we alone must be at a certain level, and not understanding that we are becoming soldiers of the crumbs and protectors of the kakada.
I mean, I think there was a survey where the respondents said they rather earn less money once they were earning more than everybody else than earn more money because they didn't want to be earning less than everybody else. So they were willing to be poorer just once they're the king of the poor, as opposed to being the bottom of the rich.
Definitely.
But with that said, you said something about belief in yourself, but I do want to come back full circle. Love of country, I do think we kind of take that concept for granted. I do wonder, is it because at the end of the day we're so laissez-faire for various reasons, complacency, we just have it too easy? Is it to some extent now we see the news, we see all the negatives, we see what's going on in Parliament, we see what's going on with government, we just don't really believe in TNT? Like, think about it. A lot of people complain about government bureaucracy around the world, even in America, right? Let's be fair. But at the end of the day, we look at things, and it's almost as though people just do not believe that we could actually, as a nation, get things done. At the end of the day, as a nation, Americans, one thing I admire about them, people might be annoyed by it, but their patriotism, at least in the past, meant that they believed that, look, if we have a mission and a goal, we could get it done. We did World War II. We did come out of the Great Depression. We did do all these things that a lot of other nations in the 20th century didn't do. But for Trinidad, it's almost as if we don't really have that national example, and we don't believe we can. And you know what it's like, you just said, still believe in yourself, right? You know what it's like when a person doesn't believe in itself. What does it mean when a nation may not believe in itself?
That's the problem. And that inspiration must come from the leaders. Because all of us have our individual responsibility. The leaders must really create that that patriotism. For instance, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, under the law, have a certain purview over every media house, where they can take, I think it's 3 minutes in every hour, the time.
For emergencies or announcements or something?
Yes, you can utilize that time, especially on the youth stations, where the youth are only listening to, you know what I'm saying, we get on Wasi, as the case may be. You can use that time to motivate the young people that the sky is the limit. Use that time constructively, progressively, in such a way that you create a difference. I remember Louis Lee Singh going on national television and doing an interview and saying that one of the greatest counselors he ever had was Harvey Boris. on national television. He said because on morning time or late night, you'll see Harvey Boris coming through the area. Why? Because I believe this is the job that I went and the people say, elect me for, and therefore if I say elect me for it, I mustn't go there and sit down in the office and rock back and just give an excuse. I must get out there and get the job done. That's what we ought to do. I have seen, let me talk with Louis Leasing, as I mentioned his name. Coming from 6th Avenue Malik, up in our area there, and be able to achieve what he has achieved. And I'm saying this is the same type of thing I'm talking about, that we all can achieve something in our lives. Listen, your father might be involved in business, but you have a different ambition. Your father should motivate you and encourage you. Listen, go forward. Let me see how I can help you to not become the owner of your own this or the owner of your own that, and promote. It is about us believing each other, not necessarily handicapping each other because I'm not doing going along the exact route that you want to go, but believing. But you also must have an attitude of gratitude, understanding that this is my father, or this is my mother, or this is the situation. And at the end of the day, when you combine all of that together, we can create the necessary synergies to really, and no pun intended where I work, we can create the necessary elements to create a change in this nation. But the leaders of the country, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, Griffith, and lead up the unions and things like that. We all have a responsibility, not just to fight for our little piece of the pie, but to understand there's a whole pie, and therefore we must motivate everyone that you are entitled to a piece of pie, not entitled to come and fight for it or to make war for it, but entitled to that if we create it, do it right. Everybody will get a little piece of this pie. Our country is blessed. And our country has all that it will take to provide for every single one of us. But it takes us, to some extent, the leaders of the church, the leaders of the politics, the leaders of the communities. It takes all of us to really come together, understand that, listen, ignorance and fight down ain't going to make nothing better for us. We have to come together to make that change. And sir, I want to tell you this. I love my country to motivate people that we can really come together, irrespective of our differences. But what unites us is a greater part, and that will cause the blessing, because we are all Trinbagonians. We may have differences in different ways, but when we leave and we go and live abroad, oh gosh, boy, we 10,000 times Chinese. Oh gosh, there's no racial barrier. I'm an Indian, but I love my pan. If you see me, I'm an African, but it's a thing happening up there. And real Chinese. But here, we want to create a separation. We want to create a division. Let me give you one final joke. I started years ago a committee called the National Committee for Douglasization, because I believe in mixture of people. I believe Africans and Indians all got make love, make Douglas, and all other race. You know what I'm saying? All get married, make love, and endless Douglas the place. But Douglas was a bad word back in the olden days. It was a terrible word. Yes. So I came up with a new thing. I changed it. So I said, when an African and Indian come together and make a child, or even just the relationship, they have now become a friend. Because I took the three first letters of African, AFR, the first three letters of Indian, IND, and I created AFR, IND, a friend. So you're now a friend. Instead of Douglas, you're now a friend. You know what I'm saying? Just combining the first three letters of the Indian and African, and you're creating a friend. The point I'm making here is that we must accept one another. We mustn't see race as a divider. We mustn't look down at one point. There's a time in the past when the Indians were looked down upon because they were the patiks, and they would be in the market just carrying your load for you and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And now the same Indians now who were looked down, they're now sometimes looking on the Africans as the case to be, and that turnaround, that cycle is what is destroying us. You know what I'm saying? And you can't pull on a person because of their race. I am against that. I remember Sata told me when I started the National Committee for Douglasization, he said, "What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do, Harvey?" You know what I'm saying? And we had a big discussion. May he rest in peace. We had a big discussion about it, of course. But I'm saying I formed a next committee called the National Committee Against Racial Complexion and Area Discrimination, because again we have complexion discrimination, that if you're light skinned, you can get you. If you're dark skinned, you can't get you. If you come from Silos, you can't get you. If you come from a certain other area, you can get you. You know what I'm saying? So we have all of those things that we need to be constantly looking at, to create that perception of love of country, because I love my country means that I will try my best to overcome these differences. I will not see myself in just this way. I will not see myself just as a Syrian, as a case may be, or a 1%er. I will not see myself just as an Indian, just as an African, or a Caucasian, or a Chinese. I see myself as a Trinbagonian first and foremost. And with that now, everything will fall in place. And that's what I've been pushing for all these years. I love my country.
I mean, a lot of the differences come just because we're ignorant of each other. So the mixture tends to solve a lot of problems if we let it happen. So I can't say that I disagree with that, folks. Mr. Boris, he still loves his country after all these years. And of course, so do we here at Talking Point. We will open the phone lines, but we will have to do so when we come back after this quick break. And you could call in and have your say. Maybe you could call in and speak to the guru. Stay tuned. Talking Point at WSN. We'll be right back after this.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Back here on Talking Point, Sean Michael Small with his first ever co-host, his first ever break on television, granted by the guru, Mr. Harvey Boris. I think I've wanted to have you on the show. I kid you not, right? I just didn't necessarily know if it could happen, how it could happen, because we're not on the same network. But Andy opened the door, I'm running right through that sucker. I might have wanted to do this since maybe after the first year or the first time I saw you coming down Gattaca Street, right? So, I mean, as much as you say it's an honor to be here, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to have you here, because I do lament the fact that also, just even with the media, the business side of makes it difficult to collaborate, to get those forums of ideas out there. I guess as a fellow practitioner, I guess you could say, I wouldn't call myself a journalist. I don't know how you would classify yourself, but within the media, while I don't necessarily think, forgive me. Folks, we formally open up the phone lines. Of course, you could call in and have your say. If I didn't say so before, you could call in and ask Mr. Boris anything. You don't have to necessarily speak about what we want to talk about, but I think an election coming up, this topic is important. But with that said, while we wait for calls, please don't all wait until 9:20 to call in. But with that said, the media, I don't think that they're necessarily overly biased. I don't necessarily think that they always do a bad job in the sense of, they're really bad at what they do. But I do think maybe, is it that collectively we're not doing enough?
Well, collectively, we're not focused on, we have tried to focus us to survive and survival is the word.
Yeah.
But the bigger picture in terms of our national responsibility as media is sometimes left behind. Because the emphasis is to make sure we make $1 in order to keep on the air, which is absolutely important. Because without making that $1, you'll be shut down or closed down.
Yeah.
So it's how to create that equilibrium to ensure that at the end of the day, you're able to survive and you're able to bring the message of advancement.
We do have a caller on the line. Morning, caller, you're on the air.
Good morning to the panel.
Morning.
Mr. Boris.
Good morning, sir.
You have made a lot of contributions, right? And I just want to, the contribution in terms of the Center for Justice, right, where you assist people who go through different difficulties in life and things, and you need to highlight that, speak about it, how many years it is in existence, and the contribution also towards the development of the Sawa Promenade, right, the beautification and the infrastructure that you had applied and now in process. Also, your initiative that they proposed to the Prime Minister for years concerning the transportation situation, and they have proposed this initiative with people could get employment and it will deal with the traffic situation. I can't remember the name of it, but that's the initiative. In terms of you need to highlight that initiative that you have been proposing for years, Mr. Boris.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Wow. Gentlemen, make my pause raise, you know.
I mean, I would just like, keep it coming.
Yeah.
Keep it coming.
Yeah. Well, if I can attempt to answer the questions that he raised in terms of his contribution. The Center for Justice is now operating 33 and a half years, 33 and a half. We have been operating, we have literally helped thousands of persons, and mainly, I must say it on national television from my pocket and my family's business. That I have used over the years. I've never really gotten any kind of funding, not even government, though I was part of the system. And unfortunately, I am now thinking, but I may have to close it in a short while, after 33 and a half years, because we have never gotten funding. We have tried our best, and I've been helping, and it is, and I have 17 attorneys that work with me free of charge pro bono, helping people, giving advice. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Hewitt, even Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj assisted us, Keith Scotland assisted us, you know, and you know, Beverly Deacon, you know, a number of other attorneys assist us, as the case may be. 17 attorneys in all, you know. So, but it's coming to where it is really tough on us and tough on me in particular. The office is right now on Chancellor Hill, and we still people, but it may come to an end in a short while based on my circumstances. Secondly, here's the thing about the Sawa Promenade. The Sawa Promenade, I was a member of the Business Association of San Juan. And in our discussions, we felt that, because at that time it was a shanty town. That promenade was a shanty town where people was living and selling things of that nature. And we had decided to try to help with the police post and also to build out, to fix over that area. So we came up with the idea. I was both a Samuel Business Associate and I'm elected representative for the area as a local government councillor. So I took it to the corporation, and eventually we were able to agree upon it to transform that area, because it was also a part for the taxis. We used to use that area for picking passengers and so on. So what you see now as a promenade was a little shanty town. I remember when I went in the promenade to do the tour, to talk to people about what we want to do. I remember people cussing me and abusing me and things like that. As a matter of fact, one guy came down to the corporation, which was lower down the road, came down to the corporation with a punya, a tree canal, a cutlass, to chop me up. You know what I'm saying, for what I want to do, why I want to change the situation. And that today, what you see as a crazy promenade is out of that discussion coming out from
I mean,
you know,
arguably, he was just scared of losing his crumbs.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, we do, there's another part that hopefully we'll get to, but we have San Fernando on the line. Good morning, caller, you're on here. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Sean.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Boris.
Good morning, sir.
Sean, you're just getting better and better.
Well, I mean, I brought in already best, so it's
program.
Yeah.
Let me say this. Let me start by saying this. Democracy is the worst form of government. And you're seeing that played out in Trinidad and Tobago. We have what they call a representative democracy. So you give your authority to a political party. Now you have to understand what is a political party. A political party is a group dedicated to self-interest. And we have gotten sucked in to this in the country, and which has replaced what should really be a representative democracy. And what we have now in the country, because of this self-interest of political parties, what we have is, how I put it, is people not understanding what governance really is. So in Trinidad and Tobago, what we have in those two political parties are, what we should have in this country are people who should understand that if it is, you should not allow, or let me put it this way, you should put your country in front of a political party. And that is what is not happening, and that is what is destroying Trinidad and Tobago right now. That is what is destroying Trinidad and Tobago right now. And these little pockets of it that, in my opinion, that you have seen where people want to go contrary to that, like Harvey, those voices have been stifled in the society. Harvey was mainstream. Now, okay, he's at that other what do you call it? That other what do you call it? Media house.
Yes, you can say it.
Yeah, that other media house. But the message is not being put out there enough because it is not being it is being stifled deliberately. And Trinidad and Tobago, and they're not waking up, they're not seeing what's happening. Right now, what we're seeing in Trinidad and Tobago is the deterioration of our society in real time. We're seeing it in real time. And unfortunately, we are doomed because of our blindness. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Caller, it was one of the most profound things I've heard in some time, deterioration of a society in real time. The unfortunate part is I cannot necessarily disagree. I do not have a good enough argument to say, no, it's not that bad yet, because it implies, yes, it's not like we're not at the end yet, but we're crumbling slowly but surely along the way.
It is
death by a thousand cuts.
It is absolutely unfortunate, and we tend not to understand. I tell people I am Harvey Burroughs. I am from San Juan, Palatovia. And what I do, I link my heritage, my Tobago heritage and my Trinidad heritage together to create that synergy that at the end of the day we are one, and we have to bring our nation together. That's why I told the ministry for the last 15 years. I've been telling the Ministry of Education that we have to start the school day with nation building, love of country, respect for authority. Because let me tell you, sir. Let me say this, because there are parents now who don't know what is right and what is wrong, not teaching the children right and wrong, and therefore the Ministry of Education have unfortunately have a further responsibility to start. So the first half an hour after your child is fresh in school, you're talking about from tertiary to nursery, from nursery to tertiary, every school, first half an hour, nation building, love of country, respect for authority, what's right, what's wrong. The basic things they're talking about, the fundamental things is not being taught, and we need now to take back this country, to take back this place, as the gentleman said, we shall become as he just spoke.
I mean, I'm not a proponent for the 3 ships. I'm just saying, people are right to say, a lot of people on the street now, they don't even know the names of the ships. I wonder, do students even know what the elements of the coat of arms are? Why the national colors are the national colors of the flag? Do they even know anymore? You want to get, you can't get more basic than that. I learned that when I was like 6. And it almost paled me to realize, and it hasn't come up since. And I don't know if that might be a bad thing.
And also correcting history is also important at the point in time, and understanding brutality, because there's an old African proverb that unless a lion learn to write, the hunter will always relay the story, as the case man will be right. You know?
We have Tobago on the line. Sorry, Tobago, making me wait. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sean.
Morning.
And to your guests,
good morning,
Mr. Harvey.
Good morning, sir.
Let me now warn you in the most solemn manner against the baneful effects of the spirit of party, the common and continual mischiefs of the spirit of party are sufficient to make it the interest and duty of a wise people to discourage and restrain it. It serves always to distract the public councils and enfeeble the public administration. It agitates the community with ill-founded jealousies and false alarms, kindles the animosity of one part against another. In governments purely elected, it is a spirit not to be encouraged. George Washington. I really admire the action that you brought to morning, Mr. Hardy. It's one of my pet peeves since I've landed here in Tobago, citing the destructive nature of political parties. While the leaders themselves may bomb glasses at the fight and so forth, the public itself never recovers. Year after year, even after campaigns are done, elections are won, the public is still stirred up to each other as each party leader vows to keep their members in line so no one crosses the floor, so to speak, and admires the current party that is leading the country. They must not appear to be successful. Anything they do, the party that did not win must try to tear them down and tear into what they're doing to keep their members agitated and in line against the other party and so forth. And so the country remains hopelessly divided. I think it's time, and I think your voice, Mr. Hardy, I would stand behind it. I would go to war with you on this issue, that it's time that we, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, we can lead the Caribbean in calling for political party reform. I said it on the show before, that after a campaign is over, after elections is over, be restrained. A campaign party should be shut down. You need to be in the year coming up again, you bring. But after that, once the party is done, once the election is over with, it should not be in office or UNC in office. That should not even be mentioned. It is now the government of Trinidad and Tobago should be prosecuting this thing. It's time for reform of the political party. As George Washington said way back in 1791, it must be restrained. What we have is a wild bull running around in our living room, mashing up everything, and we never restrain this party politics. We just dumped it on the people and never put any restraints around it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Paul. And he was, the caller from today was cutting off, but two of the points that he made that I wanted to ensure that the audience understands. One of them was after elections are done, the people are still stirred up to fight each other. And I mean, if you just look at the social media posts of the various political parties, you will see it. You will see the detractors, or say it's a specific party's page. Their supporters will take the opportunity to disparage the other side in ways that might actually have you appalled if it was done on television. And then the last part of our political campaigns. Once the elections are over, that's it. No more campaigning, no more parties. We chuck all of that out the window. You're on the majority bench or the minority bench. I think the problem is Parliament is not set up to allow for that. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue if we could set it up to do that. I might love to see it because it's interesting. I don't know if, human beings, they do undermine things. Huh?
I thought I had some years ago, which is really it's a level of madness to some extent that some people would say. I had said that, I said it on a program, that if I had the power and I'm in government and I'm the one who formed the government, I will approach an opposition member or two to be part of my government, not leaving your party, to be part of my government, as the case may be. Again, some people find that to be absolutely crazy. Okay, that person can be, that person is not of a certain thinking, can also be a danger. You understand? So that there's that balance.
Do we have a caller? Just before you call up, I had a similar thought. If I was ever in Parliament, I would seek out to try and find an opposition member, or if I was in opposition, a government member that I could work with. That was always my thought. Claxon Bay, sorry. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, morning. Yeah. Sean.
Yes.
And yeah, Sean and Mr. Harvey Boris.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I want to believe that you see the media and the politicians has do a good job through the years of keeping the country exactly how they want it to be. You understand? They mash up this country, and the people mind they're so in depth in these things with these politicians and the media that they can't even think. Imagine God give you a brain, and eyes, and mouth, and ears to hear and to see, and they can't think for themselves. Just imagine them not seeing, hey, these people is who keeping us the way we are, and we should come out together and change this situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I just respond quickly?
Yeah.
I disagree that they have mashed up the country. I say they have caused damage to the country.
Yeah.
Our country is not at the point of being mashed up.
But we can't get there.
Definitely.
You acknowledge that?
Yeah, yes, definitely. But we are not mashed up. You see, mashed up is where we reach a point almost of no return.
Yes.
We're almost, it's almost, no, we haven't reached that point. And that's why I keep on preaching, I love my country. That's why I keep on preaching positive things. You know, the gentleman asked, the third thing the gentleman asked just a while ago, and it was, the
transportation.
Cable cars. And recommended cable cars. Cable cars doesn't interfere with your infrastructure at all. It doesn't take much of your infrastructure, but it is the most convenient ways. The world is now going cable cars, as the case may be. Cable cars, you have to go in this rapid rail situation. Cable cars over the party bus route, as there's flooding don't affect you, traffic don't affect you, as the case may be, and it is inexpensive. It is also what they call green, the part of the green card. There's no negative emission taking place. It is one of the best things to do for your country. So in certain areas, you can have cable cars and remove all the traffic jam. People that are parked by agency housing for hours and hours waiting for transport. That will remove that in terms of the East-West corridor. That cable cars is a way to go.
That's it. I've never thought about that. That's interesting. I had a different idea, but this might be better for certain reasons. But we don't have another call on the line. Morning, caller, you on there?
Good morning. Mr. Boris.
Yes, sir.
There was an initiative that you had proposed to the government, Dr. Christopher Rowley, concerning cable car, not rapid rail, cable car that will deal with the transportation situation, they will deal with tourism, they will employ people. I wanted to express yourself on that, please. It's a great initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I probably didn't hear, but that was
he was on the line. Which was responsible of him. So
yes. So it is the cable car initiative, really and truly. I thought
just East-West?
It can go anywhere. Think of, for instance, if you could get to go Caranage with that remember that Caranage situation going on. Listen, man, think about it going on Caranage outside.
Now that might be the best idea for Caranage I've heard.
Think about that going on there. As you can, and not only that, you reach your work, relax. It's a sightseeing situation. It's a tourist attraction in addition to that. All tourists.
And that's a tourist area?
Definitely. No, it's a tour. I mean, the cables in the car, the cable cars in the air, people want to use that all in terms of also including tourists. And it is inexpensive. It would cost you, if it's rapid rail, will cost you 10 million, cable cars will cost you 1 million.
We have another caller? Morning, caller, you on here?
Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Mr. Boris.
Good morning.
Now, there's an old saying, nothing but the truth will set us free. And I'm listening to you all. I'm listening to Mr. Boris because I know Mr. Boris well. Mr. Boris, I used to be listening to that program that people don't even like to mention his name anymore. That's Dr. Morgan Joe, And I used to listen to his program. I would call myself a follower of his, okay? Now, what you're saying, that I'm inclined to agree with a lot of what is being said there, but you know something. The truth, and only the truth, is what will set us free. And if and when we admit certain truth, now, that is a cut to the chase.
as far as the experts have said over the years, the crucial years between the development of a child is between 1 and 3. I'm putting a question to you all. What is the crucial time for the development of a nation? Because, and I'm asking that question because I'll tell you all this. So much of our problems began between 60 and 86. And yet, while we talk about the problems, none of us are courageous enough to say where it started and who started it. I rest my case.
Thank you, Paul. Well, I mean, some people would say the PNM have been in power for most of the last 62 years, so a lot of it is their fault. Ironically, tongue-in-cheekly, with all sarcasm, when the opposition leader gave her independence message blaming globalization on foreign corporations, like, hey, so you're saying it's not the PNM, you're saying it's the foreigners. That's the problem, it's the colonialists. I will say this, to answer this question, I do understand where he's going from, and I don't necessarily disagree with him, but on the flip side, there's something about human nature where, of course, you always have another generation coming up. And no matter how good the foundation is, you always need to put things in place like distinctly for the new generation to be properly equipped for themselves to continue on the correct path, whatever that may be. So I would argue that the crucial time for a nation's development is always, it's never ending, because all it takes is one bad generation to undo everything, right? So
I see your point.
It's you know, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you because I understand setting things up from the start for a nation to have a better chance for the future. But to some extent, with each generation, it's never ending. We have Port of Spain. Last caller for the morning. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Caller, good morning.
Hi, morning.
Morning.
Good morning to you, Sean. Good morning, Mr. Boris.
Good morning.
Calling from the Port of Spain area. Just want to commend Mr. Boris on the I Love My Street project that he has taken up. Because I'm seeing him on the program and I've noticed that he has not mentioned that. And I know he's been doing a fabulous work around the savannah. And I just think it's also one of the things that could help curb crime. And I know that's what he's been pushing with the I Love My Street program from seeing it on the hot seat. So I just would like him to talk a little bit about that and commend that initiative that he's pushing. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Wow. I Love My Street is an initiative we started 3 years ago. It was to motivate, as the same patriotism, that if you love your country, you must love your community.
Yes.
If you love your community, you must love your street.
Yes.
And our motto is beautifying and improving Trinidad and Tobago one street at a time. And we went out there, started different communities, Woodbrook, St. Anne's, we did the whole of Cascade. All the bridges we painted over, all these, even the government street signs we painted black and white, made it look brand new. We really started, and then we came around the savannah. Now again, this is not government funded. This is not funded by any of the national gas or petroleum or these
state companies.
Nothing like it's funded. I requested, got no funding. Again, I took my family funds from my family businesses, and I utilize that up to this day. Right now, as we speak, if you go around the savannah, you'll see people painting the benches right now, opposite the Prime Minister's office there, painting the benches, painting the railing. And it is really to encourage us to understand how beautiful. When I went to Aruba is an old, broken down place, but everything is so beautifully painted. Yes. I mean, you feel as it gives you a kind of it gives that kind of vibration. And I started doing this cleanup work and from the age of 17, you know. I used to clean the crazy and paint up the crazy from the age of 17. I used to have about 50, 60 young people because I was the chairman of the youth league with me painting and cleaning the crazy and things like that. And it used to be carried by Rob Leave on TDT. So this is me in terms of really wanted to see us do and appreciate what we have. And there are those who will find fault, but wouldn't lend a hand, wouldn't say, listen, I work with this company, let me see if the company can give. I go to hardware, as I said, we need painting, we need some paint. I can't even get a discount. One hardware gave me a little discount, was Payless Indigo Martin, one hardware. So I'm saying it is really to encourage us, because if I love my street, and I can paint my wall in my house,
Yes.
or I can put up some grass in front of my house, or I can form a community watch group, or I can call my counselor, say, counselor, there's some potholes on the street, we need it fixed, or the MP, we need this done. I'm saying, that is what we're talking about. It's not just you doing it yourself, but understand this is where I live. And if we improve our street one by one, the whole mental situation, the whole crime situation, because when things are beautiful, when things are better, people tend to also react to it. Because if you go to the next country where you can't litter and you see no litter, you actually reacted because you're seeing the place clean.
You go to America and all of a sudden you're obeying every rule.
Correct. This again, that's what we're trying to inspire people in I Love My Street. Doing what you can on your street. Your street is your street. Your street is where you live. Your street is your home. Whether you're begging a lodging, whether you're staying by family, whether it is your uncle home, whether you're paying a rent, whilst you're on that street, that's your home. And whatever you can do to beautify, to improve it, as simple as it is. And one time the Minister of Agriculture, for support us on this project, he came and said it might seem like a small thing, but it's a light to the city. And one time the Mayor of Port of Spain, who came on the program and who came and gave his full support and said, listen, this is something to inspire people. It's not the perfect of job, it's not the best painting of benches, it's not the best painting in railing, but it's just to create that image, that imagery. We went to put even the national flags around where we have the benches painted, red, white, and black. So for the Independence, it looked beautiful Independence Day, where you see the black, because we painted the benches now, red, the railing black, and the crowns and the railing white. So you have the national colors of red, white, and black. It is to inspire our people. It's not about politics. It's not about party. It's not about race. It's just about us, the human face of Trinidad and Tobago.
I mean, the one thing that got me a little disappointed was I didn't realize that was your responsibility. I thought, hey, somebody with the Savannah doing some work. And to be fair to local governments, they have their challenges too. And that's why some people say, oh, I really do work for the government. Well, look, at the end of the day, sometimes it's about getting the things done so that things improve, not about, well, so-and-so is supposed to...
They have to do their job. We must make sure they do their job.
Well, that's the thing.
But
they're not doing the job, we just going to accept that they're not doing the job, and nobody will do nothing.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
That's what happens in private business. Things break down in offices, public sector offices too. Not my job, not my problem. And enough people say that on a country, and all of a sudden we give up on the country. Last quick thing, one of the callers from Claxon Bay talked about not being able to think for ourselves. I'll just say this, and I said this off air in the discussion yesterday with one of my colleagues, the low passing rate of math. I think people need to understand it's not about being able to pass math, but just proper education should have these students prepared to at least pass. They don't have to excel in math, but to at least pass it. If they're taught how to think, if they're taught how to be confident in themselves, if they're taught how to be good students and how to revise, and all these other things about academically being prepared to move forward in life. They don't have to get 90-something. They can get 52. Maybe I said this on here, but I'll say it again. And I do wonder if, because you brought up education as well, I could probably go on. I brought it up earlier as well. That is one of our big unspoken issues.
In the recent exams, my little daughter, she got 7 ones with distinctions and so on. And I told her, I said, if you're doing well and got one in math also, if you're doing well, make sure other students in your class who you feel may be struggling, give them a help. Give them whatever little you can do. You're not a teacher, but if you feel like you understand something a little better, don't keep it to yourself. Give it, share it with other students. And that's what we need, that unity, that camaraderie in our country. Listen, the business people understand it. They might be PNM supporters or UNC supporters, but they still come together and do business. We, the grassroots, we, the regular folks who support this party, who support that party, we hate one another and we pull in on one another, and we don't understand that after elections, our country must return to being one country of Trinidad and Tobago, of Trinbagonians, as the case may be. And that's what we need to understand. And Tobago and Trinidad, we must also ensure that unity continue. It's not we Gonian and we Trinis. It's about us coming together, understanding that we have two different cultural ways, but at the end of the day, it's one country. Two becomes one when they are joined together in love.
If we could figure it out, we will be stronger.
Definitely.
I don't necessarily like this phrase because it was a political slogan, but we will be stronger together. With that said, Mr. Boris, thank you for joining me. It was a pleasure having you. Hopefully we can have you again sometime. Thanks to all our callers as well for calling in and pointing out all the good work that Mr. Boris is doing, has done, and they hope that you will continue to do. Mr. Boris, last words?
By the grace of God, I thank people. Remember the term, I love my country, as he asked me to come to speak on this term. I love my country really means is that we appreciate and respect one another, that we wouldn't pull on one another because of race, because of political affiliation, because of religion. The love of country means that we appreciate and respect one another, but it doesn't mean that we have to be victim of everything that's negative. Let's do the positive thing. Let's change crime in this country. Let's get our young people to understand that the sky is the limit and the future is there for them to behold. Make sure and encourage them and motivate them. But whatever you can do, it's your responsibility to do it, and we must make sure the government, the opposition, and all in authority do their share. It's part of also our responsibility. I thank you. I love my country.
And folks, make today a good day. As Keaton Shaw would always say, remember your allegiance to your country and to each other. Stay safe out there. Be mindful of dengue as well as crime. Talking Point will be back tomorrow. Bye-bye.
WESN.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content